What's up, everybody? This week I'm joined by Gregg Gregory as we sit down and talk about one of the most cathartic and bleakest end-of-the-world movies ever made, 1996's Independence Day. That and a whole lot more is to come on this week's episode of the 90s podcast. Welcome to the show. Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Independence Day to everybody here in the United States. A regular holiday celebrated from the destruction of the oppressive British, and a day that Wales hopes to have one day in its future. But I digress. I'm here with Gregg Gregory. Greg, how are you, man?
Hey, bud. What's up? Doing good.
So it is around about 3 o'clock on Independence Day. So, not right now, but when this is released, it'll be around about 3 o'clock on Independence Day. And what better way to celebrate the 4th of July here in the United States than by talking about one of the greatest movies of all time? And we say that a lot, but this time we don't mean it is a hyperbole.
No, not like in a cult following sense.
Yeah.
Because you could say that about Groundhog Day, but I don't think it had near the commercial success that this movie did.
No.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have some thoughts about that too that maybe I'll save for later. But yeah, it was definitely a huge movie, and it was really fun to rewatch as an adult. I saw it as a kid multiple times, but this is my first time rewatching it as an adult.
Yeah, I hadn't seen the movie until Sunday for about 15 years, and it holds up.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I was really curious to see how it would feel. But yeah, I mean, it's a good one. It's like the perfect blockbuster movie for the 90s.
It ticks all the right boxes.
Yeah. And you got like little spots of comic relief that I want to go into as well. So good. And
one thing that I forgot how bleak it was too.
Oh yeah. It was. I mean, it's a doomsday scenario. And the other thing that I didn't realize, it's not considered an action movie.
Really?
I figured it would be classified as an action movie, but it's actually not.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see both sides of the argument. I mean, you've got dogfighting, and not not the real dogs. Obviously, you've dogfighting with airplanes, and you consider that action. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, there's so many explosions and combat and military stuff, and then running away from fire and all these, very action packed, but still it's not in that genre.
Really?
Which I found very intriguing. So maybe I'll slip that in when we're doing the movie information, because I was blown away by that.
Well, that's what I'm going to get into, all the stuff, because I've got written down here: end of the world, action, sci-fi.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, the main thing that I would see everywhere is sci-fi. That would be the main. But I would argue that this is perfect. That's the perfect genre right there, because it's more than a sci-fi.
Yeah. And
it's also more than an action. But it's also with the implications of the end of the world. Yeah, I mean, it's doomsday. Yeah, totally. I mean,
it is doomsday. I mean, we'll get into it here in a minute, but I mean, my word, okay. We've talked about movies. We've talked about plenty of action movies. We've talked about comedy movies and everything like that. This movie is just right. It's got just enough of everything in there to make it the perfect movie.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to it, that goes into being a quote perfect movie. It's not just the actors and the script and the story, but it's also the pacing of the movie,
yes,
the music, and also color selection, and the different ways they color correct it and make it visually master everything to make it nice and even.
Yeah.
There's always other things that that, and they just seem to have like the perfect formula for this one. It seemed to kind of all come together.
I mean, I remember when I was doing film studies at school, and the guy talked about Silence of the Lambs,
Yeah.
and he talked about Jodie Foster's character in the first 10 or 15 minutes of the film. I can't remember exactly what he said. Jodie Foster is wearing blue. She's a police officer, so she's training in a blue sweatshirt. She's wearing a blue uniform. She's wearing a blue pantsuit when she gets into plain clothes. And everything in the movie's getting redder and redder and redder. And as they start talking about Buffalo Bill, it gets redder and redder and redder and redder. And they're displaying that red is the evil color and blue is the nice, safe color. And then she goes down the hallway and sees Lecter for the first time in a blue jumpsuit.
Yeah.
And they did that with this movie in the sense that everything was away from the color green.
Because the enemy was assigned that color.
Yes, the aliens were assigned green, and they had very few green symbolisms on the good side. It was all green and like light browns and stuff like that.
Yeah, brown and blue. Like some of the upper military guys had blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, navy colors. That that was the only thing in the movie that I didn't think aged too much was the military
No.
stuff. That stuff still looks pretty on point, but like the haircuts and the technology, yeah, it's like okay, this is a '90s movie.
Yeah.
But that's fine. I mean, it doesn't bother it.
The Tropicana machine was a dead giveaway that dates the movie instantly.
Exactly.
I never had Tropicana before it went out of business.
No.
So
I thought they just made orange juice. I don't know anything.
No, it wasn't
other
Tropicana. Hang on, it wasn't Tropicana. What was it? Oh.
What, Mellow Yellow or trying to think of '90s drinks that don't exist anymore.
I'm googling that right now because that's bothering me. I keep saying Tropicana.
I know how that is. Like sometimes I keep there's a
Fruitopia.
guy that Fruitopia.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I think that was maybe I remembered it wrong. I thought that was owned by like Coca-Cola or something. Maybe they just stopped doing it.
They stopped making it because people wanted their fizz back, because I think it was like juice in a can, and everybody was drinking like Snapple and Sunny D.
I was going to say Snapple probably buried them because
Yeah.
Snapple is and Arizona iced tea. Oof, those are both really good.
So let's look at this, right? Because it was written and directed by Robert Emmerich and David Devlin, produced by Centropolis Entertainment, distributed by 20th Century Fox. Fox had a hand in the end of the world.
Oh, that makes sense.
It made $817 million at the box office for a total profit of $742 million. So on a budget of around 50 to 60 million.
100, really?
Yeah.
Is that what it works out to? I thought it was over like at least 100. Maybe not.
No,
70 something. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
About 70, 80 million. I mean,
I assumed it had to be 100 plus movie.
70 million movie in the mid 90s though is the equivalent of like a $500 million blockbuster now.
Sure. No, sure. It's just like when you see that many explosions and that many like different sets, like they had one that looked like the White House. They had, different parts of the ships and stuff. Like there was it. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe my brain is just too attuned to currency.
Well,
but
there's a reason.
It's a lot of money.
There's a reason why this looks as good today as it did 20 years ago. It's because they didn't use CGI. They used miniatures.
So live action and miniatures.
Yeah, they used real fire. They used, the planes were all models. Now they duplicated them in the computer, but they had the original look.
Yeah, they weren't like simulating it in a program. They were like taking it from a physical model.
Yes.
And so and that it looks like Jurassic Park.
Yes.
That's another one where it just looks so good, even with because sometimes on an HD upscale some of your secrets will be given away a little bit.
Yeah.
On that's not the case because you can tell that they carefully put everything together. And same thing with this one. I mean, I watched I watched the HD remaster last night. I have it on in the background, muted right now, and it looks great. I mean, there's no tells anywhere as far as uh, tricks and smoke and mirrors. It looks extremely believable.
Yeah, and it does. And the critical rating at the time was only 7 out of 10. It was seen
And
as just another action movie or just another, big budget blow 'em up.
well, yeah, well, I mean, you got to think about everything that was around it at that time, though, like
True.
Die Hard and some of these other ones. There was Speed came around that
Yeah.
time. And a few others that I can't remember right now, but I mean that was kind of like the action adventure explodey era for blockbusters.
Yeah.
Like that's what was getting people's attention. So I think it kind of just it got kind of lost in the shuffle. If it had come out 4 years earlier, maybe it would have stood with a little more distinction. But nonetheless, you know. Uh, it's a great movie. I just think that people have kind of forgotten about it in a lot of ways because Pulp Fiction and some of there's other fantastic legendary movies that were coming out at that time. It just kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit. But I mean, it's a hard hitting cast. It's just so much going on and it's really grabs you, pulls you in.
I think one of the things about it was with the exception of Will Smith, who was up and coming and rising at the time,
Yeah.
the main characters were played by, I don't mean this derogatory, but they were played by B-level celebrities, B-level actors.
Yeah, like Robert Loggia.
Yeah.
Guys like, yeah, where you like you know them but you don't know them. Like you've seen them a million times, but you probably don't know them by it's not like it's like, oh hey, there's Tom Cruise. It's like, oh, it's
Yeah.
that guy from that one movie. Like, yeah, it's him.
Yeah, I mean, with respect to everybody, right? And I guess Jeff Goldblum might be the exception to that, but
Yeah.
he's like a chameleon though. He goes into any role, and you picture him as the character, not as Jeff Goldblum. Whereas Tom Cruise, as you mentioned, that's Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I mean, see, Jeff Goldblum doesn't play the character. The character plays him.
Yeah,
If that makes sense. Like and it makes it sound like he's one note, but like he just has a certain way of doing what he does,
yeah,
and I think people want him for him.
yeah,
They don't want him to do a Jim Carrey and okay, you're this crazy pet detective who's like got funky hair and stuff. No, it's more he's playing a scientist. He's playing a guy who's smart.
yeah,
He's kind of like we talked about Harold Ramis a couple seasons
yeah.
back. He was always playing a college professor or like a neurosurgeon or a neurologist. Something
Something with high
astute.
IQ.
Yeah, and he kind of fits that typecast too.
Yeah, I mean
So
they all had auras about them, but it wasn't your A level. It was your second string actors.
they were notable. They were all notable. When I was watching it, I was like, wow, okay, Bill
Yeah.
Pullman, wow, and then just seeing all the people. Robert Loggia popped up immediately, and I thought of that Family Guy cutaway where it's like Robert Loggia, R as in Robert Loggia, O as in, and he just goes through the whole name. Oh boy, it's Robert Loggia. Yeah, he's got a distinct voice, but he's definitely not. He's not starring in any big movies as the main character. He's
Yeah.
always a supporting role.
And that's the best way to describe it. It's basically a bunch of supporting actors getting their chance to shine as leads.
This might be one of the biggest because of the way they expanded the supporting role. This might be one of the greatest supporting casts of all time.
Yeah,
Like if you look at everybody pound for pound, and as far as like, you don't see Will Smith until like 30 minutes into the movie.
no,
And there's other people that pop in for comic relief that are also known in that same role. So yeah, there's so much of that. That's one thing I definitely noticed. They did not lean on the main characters a lot on this one.
no. I think it's because it's ensemble. I think they
Yeah.
all had like the same amount of screen time. They all had
Yeah.
proportionately. I mean,
They had their moments. They
Yeah.
all had big moments. Yeah, and I don't want to give too much away, but like each main character has like their big moment.
yeah.
So
So all great movies start with an idea, and this one started out with an idea at like a comic convention. Now, Comic-Cons weren't really, really big, but Emmerich and Devlin worked on Stargate. In fact, that was their baby.
That's a great one.
And they were at a Q&A, and someone asked Emmerich, why does he do so much with sci-fi when he doesn't believe in aliens?
Right.
And
that's weird.
He said he just has a fascination with sci-fi. I mean, I've got the idea of waking up to a 15-mile wide spaceship on Earth one day. And then they both looked at each other and then said, "Oh, we just got an idea for a brand new movie."
Yeah, that's a movie right there, because you can. That's a good jumping off point, because you have to develop like how it got there, and then they kept some stuff like up to speculation. There's a whole bunch like they never explain certain parts of it.
Yeah.
So that adds a little bit of mystique to it. Yeah, it was some of the best ideas come in the shower. It's called the shower principle. Like if you're trying to come up with something, just like you don't have to take a shower, but if you just walk away from it, or you'll be doing something else completely different, and just a moment of inspiration will hit you, and that's exactly what that is right there.
Yeah, and I mean, this pre-production was super fast. I mean, like, the script took 4 weeks to write, which is phenomenal for a movie of this scale.
Yeah, it's pretty script heavy too. So I mean, there's a lot to it. I mean, in that regard.
Yeah, it took 4 weeks to write. It was sent to the studios on a Thursday. The bids started coming in on a Friday, and by the following Monday, Fox had secured the rights and started pre-production on it.
Wow! So in two weeks,
less than 5 weeks.
Less than 5 weeks. Well, I mean, as far as them starting it after they got the rights, but yeah, wow.
So pre-production was thrown straight into the deep end and took 72 days to complete, which again is okay. Lord of the Rings. Okay, that ended up being 3 movies and 9 hours long, right? But that took 2 years to pre-produce. Well,
sure,
because when you pre-produce a film, for those who don't know, it's not just writing the script. You've got to write treatments. You've got to write character backgrounds if it's a brand new universe. You've got to storyboard, so that your cameramen know what to look for and everything like that. And
you got to hire all your staff.
Yeah.
Find your extras, figure out where your sets and your locations are going to be.
Hire a cast.
Sometimes you have to rent areas to use for certain sets, so you have to coordinate that, and you have to rent gear or like stuff for a certain. Yeah, there's like, I mean, I'm sure most people get it, but like if you really get down to the nuts and bolts of it, like there's a million things that go into that. Yeah. So that's lightning fast.
Yes, I mean for a 2-hour movie, 72 days. Yeah.
It was so many explosions. I mean, there's probably 200 explosions in this mill, man. They are not messing around.
And so you've got to build your miniatures and your models. And this movie holds the record for most models used in a movie.
Really?
And because of CGI and the expansion of, the hybrid model of using CGI and model sets, that people think that this record will never be broken. So you can see just how I mean 72 days is insane.
Yeah, the way I would argue the way that we do movies now, that you probably won't see another movie that's that heavy in model usage, because we've turned so much into computer graphics, for everything, and animation, Illustrator, and that kind of thing. So maybe there's people still doing it, but it just seems like that's the way it's trending right now.
People are just crying out for a good puppet,
Yeah.
Oh, goodness me. But so after the 72 days were done, they started working on the cast. And President Whitmore, was originally supposed to be played by Kevin Spacey.
That could have worked.
Kevin Spacey was not a big star at the time.
Yeah, he wasn't. They needed they like, it's so B-list that you need somebody to give a little bit of credibility to the cast, and he was kind of your guy for that, honestly. Because I mean, maybe Randy Quaid, he was kind of a big deal. So like Quaid, Goldblum, and Pullman were kind of like your seat fillers.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Kevin Spacey, like I said, Kevin Spacey wasn't that big, and in my opinion, look, I know that Kevin Spacey is an awful human being. Right, I'm not gonna debate anybody on that. But as an actor, one of the best to embrace Hollywood.
Oh, he's a fine actor. Yeah,
I mean, it's
that's irrefutable. Yeah,
it's a shame it's in the body and mind of somebody like Spacey,
Sure.
But
waste of talent.
he would have been good in the role, but the reason they didn't cast him is they didn't think he was going to be a star. Which then you see next year he brought out Seven and The Usual Suspects and American Beauty. And you did a couple of decent ones, like The Negotiator with Samuel L. Jackson. It's one of my favorite movies.
He had some big. He was on or teetering into the A-list there for a little while. I mean, he was doing some good work. So I don't know. Who knows? Maybe if he'd have gotten the gig, it would have propelled him right then. But I think Bill Pullman was the correct choice, personally.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean,
he was a very believable, convincing president.
Yeah, and he brought gravitas to the role.
He did.
He played the character of an unprepared leader,
right?
Because he was completely unprepared, and he didn't know what to do, and that's what made his role great, is the fact that every turn he made, he thought he was making the right move.
You're right.
And it just got worse, which we'll get to here in a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Interestingly enough, Will Smith was the first choice to play Stephen Hiller. But the studio expected him to reject the role, and they were in talks with the number 2 guy, who would have been Eddie Murphy.
Oh, Eddie Murphy. That's intriguing.
Now, Eddie Murphy was an action star, though, at the time, with Beverly Hills Cop. I mean,
he was. And they were kind of looking for
a name,
and also a hint of comic relief, because he's one of 3 people that provide that. Because this is so like heavy that you need those couple little moments
to catch your breath.
Yeah, and they knew exactly where to pop it. Yeah, so as far as like the pacing, So that's huge right there.
And this is the irony. This is the irony of this, right? And bear with me. So they wanted Eddie Murphy, and they knew Eddie Murphy would accept the role as the number 2 guy, right? So they're in talks with Eddie Murphy. Originally, Jada Pinkett was supposed to play Jasmine, the Will Smith's girlfriend.
Yeah.
They ended up working together. Both of them pulled out of Independence Day talks to go film The Nutty Professor.
Ah, okay.
And Will Smith and Vivica Fox came in.
Right.
And they were on the roll for Nutty Professor as well, before Eddie Murphy took over the project and made it Hercules, and 8 characters, and But other names considered for this part, the studio wanted a white guy to play Stephen Hiller. Now, I can't see that character played by anyone else other than Will Smith.
Yeah, I don't. It's hard to imagine anybody else. Just because for what the role called for.
Yeah.
Will at the time was going to give you. I mean, once again, you hire Will Smith, you get Will Smith.
Yeah.
Like, he brings a certain attitude, a certain energy. So it's like, if you want Stifler, you hired Sean William Scott. But if you want Will Smith, you hire Will Smith.
Well, see, that's the thing. They wanted Tom Cruise, Keanu Reeves, Johnny Depp, Jean-Claude Van Damme, or William Baldwin.
All great actors and excellent. Jean-Claude Van Damme, he was right where he needed to be as far as his movie roles, like the martial arts based ones. So that seems kind of like a shoehorn move right there. Although he was huge at the time, and as were all these other names, they were all pretty big. Not so much William Baldwin, kind of big, but like Tom Cruise and Keanu Reeves and Johnny Depp, they were both huge back then, and still now, I'd argue, in some respect.
Well, the other thing too is Van Damme was coming off Street Fighter, and needed a hit to get back on track, and I don't think his career ever recovered from Street Fighter.
It really didn't, honestly, to think about that, because he just had this unbelievable run in the mid 80s to like the early 90s.
Yeah.
I think he made, like, conservatively, like 6 Kickboxer and or Bloodsport movies combined, and they were all great and they all did pretty well. So yeah, man, it might have ruined him, honestly. Either that or he just couldn't keep up with the demands of having that kind of physique. I don't know.
Yeah. But Van Damme wasn't picked instead. We had Will Smith, Bill Pullman, and Jeff Goldblum. Judd Hirsch. That's who you bring in for the comic relief.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was really really funny. I love him talking to David. It's guaranteed hilarious one way or the other, both ways, to and fro. Yeah, it's always good.
Then you had Randy Quaid, Vivica Fox, and Margaret Collin. I don't know who Margaret Collin is. I've done a little bit. I've pulled up IMDb, and knowing my luck, she's probably been in some awesome movie thing, but I honestly can't find much. Come on, click on it. Let's see, because I've got it pulled up now. Margaret Collin. What has she been in? Independence Day, Unfaithful, Something Wild, Now and Again.
Oh, Something Wild. That was that movie where they referenced in Dumb and Dumber, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just trying to see something that I would recognize, and I don't recognize anything.
Well, check out the Dumb and Dumber episode if you want to know more about that. It has when they leave the diner and he's talking about getting caught up to them and them taking them out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it has to do with that.
The supporting cast, Robert Loggia, as we mentioned earlier, Brett Spiner.
Yeah.
What a cameo.
I was excited. I completely forgot. I saw him in the credits, and I was like, "What is he? He's got to play a kooky scientist. He's got." And sure enough, he was the Area 51 scientist.
He said that after playing Data, he always wanted to do evil roles, which is why he enjoyed playing Law so much.
Yeah.
So but this role I think suited him down to the ground because he did look the part of somebody who hadn't left a bunker in 20 years and didn't know what was going on. And hey.
They don't let us out much. he's kind of there's a bit of sick desperation in his energy.
It's like, please.
Like he's a little too friendly.
It's like, please like me.
Yeah, exactly. like a puppy at the pound or something.
Who else have we got here? We got Harvey Firestein, excuse me.
Firestein. He's like a comic relief piece guy. Like, I mean, he does the exact role in essence. It's not his function, not his literal role, but in Mrs. Doubtfire. Yeah. I don't know if I don't remember seeing that one on the I haven't heard it on the pod, but wow, yeah, he's absolutely hilarious, and he's another piece of comic relief.
I gotta call my mother. I gotta call my doctor. I gotta call my lawyer. Forget my lawyer.
And then you see him under the table. He's like, for $300, you can put him through his phone to the Hamptons.
Yeah, I did feel sorry for that character.
I did too. Yeah, that was the thing I was thinking about. It's so random. Mae Whitman is in this movie, and I didn't recognize her because she's playing the first daughter. Yeah. But she's done a lot of stuff, like Arrested Development and also Good Girls. She's done some really, really good work, actually. So it's just interesting that she's got this very minor role, but it's almost a front and center role. Yeah. You know? It's just, this was 96, man. Like I was 13, so a lot has changed since then. So I mean, yeah, but there's Harry Connick Jr. threw me for a loop. Yeah, because I thought he was a musician.
But I'm trying to think of who else was on here. I think that was it. I think that's everyone. They used real. I didn't catch their names, and they're not written down here. But one of the things that made this authentic was the fact that because it's a big worldwide news thing that's happening, I mean, it affects everyone. So every news station in the world is reporting it, and they got 80 newscasters from around the world be it English, American, Russian, etc., and they paid the actual news staff to record the footage that they would need. So, it's I don't know who the anchors are over here, but whoever does the 6 o'clock news, they got him in a studio, they told him the premise of the thing, they gave him a script, and he read the teleprompter, And wow. that added to the authenticity of everything, but I don't have any names written down, which goes to show you how much I research these things these days.
There's a lot of stuff on this one because it's a huge cast. The supporting cast is massive. There's a heavy plot. It's a lot to it. So no worries there.
And we've got 1, 2, 3, and 1/2 pages of plot to go through. Again, it's a 2-hour movie, so we'll try and condense this plot down to about 30 minutes of talking about it. Because, like I said, it is a huge thing. I don't know where I got this plot from. If anybody recognizes it and it's theirs, please reach out to me, and I will give you credit. But right now I can't, because I can't remember where I got this plot from, because I got this plot about 3 years ago. I was planning on I was planning on doing this episode on Independence Day when it fell on a Sunday during our normal scheduled stuff, and it just didn't happen. So
yeah, life happens sometimes, and I had to push it back a few times.
So, on July 2nd... a giant alien mothership over 340 miles in diameter enters orbit around Earth. Scientists are excited about the signal, but are slightly worried that it wasn't picked up until it passed the orbit of the moon. I love that scene, because if you listen carefully, and they did this in the trailer to it too. In the trailer they used "Everybody Wants to Rule the World," and in the movie they used "It's the End of the World as We Know It."
Yeah, yes. Put a smile on my face as soon as that started.
So, it's what's coming. President Thomas Whitmore is informed during the morning about what has been happening. Whitmore, former Desert Storm fighter pilot, is having a hard time adjusting from fighter pilot to politician. Marilyn Whitmore, the First Lady, is currently in LA on a conference, but is due home on the 3rd. So, just a normal day. 4th of July is coming up. We got parades. The First Lady's out doing guest appearances and,
right.
Just regular... it's a calm day, except for the scientists who found an alien mothership that's 340 miles wide.
If this isn't an insanely beautiful woman, I'm hanging up.
Sir, you need to listen to this. Ow, God, ow.
Yeah, he just clocks himself on the upper bunk. Yes, they did a really good job of speckling some humor in there. There's good bright little spots like that. There's drama. There's mystery. I mean, there's a bunch of mystery in the beginning, but it's not. It's a multi-genre movie. There's so much. There's so much to it. Because
at the beginning, if you didn't see a trailer for this movie and you just went in blind, you have no idea what the intentions are of the visitors that have just bypassed the moon.
Yeah, there's about 45 minutes of exposition. Just to kind of get everything set and built and to introduce you to the characters, and then the arc that creates that. So that's what they do. They start off with the big cheese, and then we move to our next guy who is a big part of it. I'd argue the biggest part of it, because he kind of unraveled the first little bit of the mystery.
Yes, and that's David Levinson, an MIT graduate environmentalist, works on satellites for a cable company in New York City. He discovers a hidden signal in the satellite transmissions, which he believes is a timer, which will fix the problems that New York's been having with their cable. During this time, we also meet Russell Case, a former Vietnam vet turned alcoholic, who's currently a crop duster. After dusting the wrong field, the town mock him as he claimed to be abducted by aliens several years ago. Now, I love that part. You dusted the wrong field, you idiot. Are you sure?
Yes, I kind of forgot about Randy Quaid, but yeah, he's another speckled comedy relief piece.
Yeah, and
sometimes you're laughing with him and at him, but either way.
I'll get to a point about that later on, right? But just as they're mocking him for being abducted by aliens, the alien ships start coming through the atmosphere. These 15 miles wide. And they take positions over many of the Earth's major cities, including New York, DC, Los Angeles. They go over Moscow, London, Paris.
Cairo, probably. Just any any big populated place.
Yeah, anywhere there's a lot of people, capital of the world, whatever. They've done their homework. They know where to go.
Exactly.
You know, Stephen Hiller, Captain Hiller, is called back to base as they prepare for intake or invasion. This upset his girlfriend Jasmine, who he intends to marry. Hiller is determined to fly for NASA, but is told that he would not get to fly a spaceship if he marries a stripper. During this, Cases plan to evacuate from their location, leaving during the night. Now, they know that something's up, or they suspect that something's up because, alien ship shows up, don't know what their intentions are, let's go hide until, we figure it out. Just get out of the way, get it,
Get out of the city.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. While David discovers that the Tama sent to the aliens determines that it's Tama to the ships to attack, David and his father Julius rush from New York to Washington and try to warn someone about what's coming. While the military sends a welcome wagon to establish communications with the ship, Levinson manages to contact his ex-wife, Constance Spano, who is a White House staffer. He convinces her to let him enter the Oval Office and to warn President Whitmore of the impending attack. Smart.
Sure. But yeah, and that ties it in to each other.
Yeah, because what you don't know is that the president and Levinson were actually good friends.
And history.
When he started his political career and took Constance with him, they got into a fist fight and he got punched.
You punched the president? You punched the president?
I love that.
Oh, he wasn't the president then. Yeah. You punched the president! so good. And then, he punched the president. At the end, he's like muttering it.
Yeah. The aliens... Okay, they sent the welcome wagon. The aliens destroy the welcome wagon, and the president immediately orders a large-scale evacuations of all the targeted U.S. cities. But the aliens attack with advanced directed energy weapons before the evacuations can be completed. The president, his daughter, portions of his staff, and the Levinsons narrowly escape aboard Air Force One as the destroyers waste to Washington, D.C., New York City, Los Angeles, leaving millions dead, which, grim. What a way to start an invasion.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell they mean business. That, when I first saw it, I was like, yeah, they're just mowing the lawn right now.
Yeah, this is
essentially. I mean,
and it's just the thing that this is why I said earlier it was a bleak movie. It was just the ease in which they did everything.
Oh yeah, it was just like knocking down a sandcastle on the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, just the I think the scariest thing was the magnitude of it.
Yeah.
340 miles wide. Let's start right there. That's like further than from here to Dallas, Texas.
Yeah. From here to Houston, isn't it?
It maybe actually. So that's crazy. Oh, then you have little ones coming out. The little ones are 15 miles wide. That's still incredibly horrifying.
And there's what, a dozen of them came down? 2 dozen?
Yeah, it was like 18 or 24. Yeah, it was a lot of them. Yeah. Or did they say 55?
I honestly can't remember.
It was an alarming number because I remember they showed like the infrared shot of it and they were just like pouring out of it like fleas or something.
Well, what happens? We see the death of what was his name?
Lost it.
Marty. Yeah, Marty dies
Gilbert,
trying to get out of New York. He's engulfed in flames. And Jasmine barely survives with her son Dylan and dog Boomer. They've just about survived. In reality,
nah.
No, even if they got the door open and closed it, they were done.
Yeah, that was I mean, the fire would have grabbed that pocket of air.
Yeah.
Number one, and then number two, it would have melted the door and probably blown it back or knocked the surrounding. But yeah, gotta keep it going for the plot, So.
Strangely enough, Marty is the only fatality of the main cast.
Out of the main cast, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, which is for a movie this size and scale, surely you would have thought that one of the other main cast would have been taken out as well.
Right. I mean,
and the president's wife, but we'll get to that here in a few minutes.
Yeah, I was thinking that, but I figured you had something going. Yeah, so totally, but that's a much slower burn than this one. This one's pretty early in the movie, comparatively.
So we catch up on July 3rd. There's a group of refugees in a convoy, including the Kisses. Russell and his son Miguel and his daughter Alicia. They learn of the truth and it horrifies them. Jasmine is able to escape her hiding spot and steal a truck and heads to the desert. The US conducts a coordinated counterattack. The Black Knight Squadron of Marine Corps F-18 Hornets from El Toro Marine Corps Air Station participated in an assault on the destroyer that devastated the city of Los Angeles. So yeah, we're mounting a comeback now. We're sending our very, very best after you.
Right.
Their weapons failed to penetrate the crash force field and in response to releasing scores of smaller attack ships. So they've come down here on these 15-mile wide ships. So they've gone from a 300-mile ship to a 15-mile ship to a fighter.
To like the equivalent of a fighter plane, size-wise. Or maybe think like the Millennium Falcon or something like that. Like something that would be just enough to get around, like nothing, not like the Starship Enterprise or anything. It's like 17 floors and 4 holodecks or anything. No, it's just like a plane, but one you would fly everywhere.
Their equivalent of F-18.
Space worthy though.
Yes, space worthy.
Yeah.
So what happens? Well, basically, it's a one-sided affair, and the Marines are wiped out within like 2 minutes.
Oh yeah, it's like squishing bugs, like with your foot or something. It's nothing to him.
Yeah. So Captain Hiller manages to evade the guns of the attack ship and lures a single attacker to the Grand Canyon. There's his jet's about to run out of fuel, and the attacker's about to overtake him. He deploys the landing chute for his jet and crashes the alien craft. Hiller ejects from his seat. The alien crashes on top of the canyon and falls and lands in the desert. Hiller parachutes to a landing spot nearby and angrily marches over to find and confront whatever life forms in the alien craft. The door of the alien fighter craft pops open and a very bizarre-looking creature with tentacles appears. To which Captain Hiller delivers a right cross and knocks out the creature, saying, "Welcome to Earth." I love that.
And the thing after, he's like, "Look at you. Ship all banged up. Look at you now. Who's the man?
Wait till I get another plane. I'm coming after all your friends."
It's another bright spot of comic relief when you have all this doom kind of looming over you. So it keeps you engaged. It gives you a comic relief, but it also adds a little bit of suspense for everything that's building in the background.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's a pressure valve.
Yeah,
it's
marinating.
He's angry, he's frustrated, and he's just yelling. But what he's yelling is funny. I think
he's probably got adrenaline running through his body like crazy, I'd imagine too. So
we are like that.
Sure.
Just when we're angry, and we get our a pocket caught in the handle of a door as we're walking by. And it just makes us even more frustrated.
It's
just
get
that mentality. On board Air Force One, President Whitmore consults what's left of his staff. NORAD has been destroyed by the invaders, including the Vice President, all the cabinets, and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. They also confirm that the First Lady is missing. Arguing about how they should have issued an executive order evacuating the major cities when they were attacked, David's father breaks into the meeting and suggests the government did know about the invaders, having some evidence of previous visit at Area 51 in the Nevada desert. The president, Huma, tells Levinson that Area 51 doesn't exist. However, Whitmore's defense secretary tells the president that the installation does exist. Now, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
The excuse he gave was that the facility is classified. Okay.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. But once you see these things flying around in the air, maybe
you should start singing a little bit, telling people what's going on. That you oh, hey, that looks like that thing at that secret facility we have.
What secret facility? Well,
yeah.
So, that's one part of the plot I don't like, because
you can't tell the president about classified information.
Yeah,
you can't tell him that. Who can you tell?
Exactly. Presidents these days take classified information home with them.
Yeah.
Some leave it in their office. Some leave it in their office. Some leave it in the garage. Others leave it in their toilet. It's
wherever.
It's. But
in
he
a
can't.
Casket.
But you can't. I can't say because the information was classified. the minute a weather balloon flies over DC that nobody understands is when you should tell the president, hey, we got some aliens down in Nevada, just in case this thing is one of them.
I mean, you're in a state of emergency, so I would argue that pretty much a lot of that is off the table too.
Yeah.
Because when stuff like that happens, you kind of have to just go all out. So you should be digging through all the classified files to see if you've got anything on it. But if he openly knew it, yeah, come on, man.
That's treasonous.
Yeah, I would argue it's withholding. I don't know if I go that far, but it's definitely withholding information.
Yeah,
intentionally withholding. Well, you're onto something there. Maybe it is.
Because it's not as if every major city on Earth in 5 minutes was destroyed beyond recognition.
Right.
Okay, fair enough. You could have told us about this Area 51 when they showed up, right? And it could still lead to the exact same scenario, but at least you'll have some information on what you're dealing with, because otherwise you're just going in blind.
Sure, it puts you one step closer to getting to the end result when they figured it out. Yeah. Absolutely.
So as Hiller using his parachute to drag the body of alien across the desert, he's picked up by Russell and the convoy. From there, they take the captured alien to Area 51 after they flew over it. They're in the Nevada desert. And it's commanded by Major Mitchell. Area 51 conceals a top-secret facility housing a repaired alien attack ship and 3 dead alien bodies. The president arrives and is given a tour by Dr. Brackish. By Dr. Brackish Oaken. Brett Spiner.
Yes.
Excuse me. The head scientist of the facility. Oaken tells the group that the aliens' biochemistry is similar to their own and they can breathe our air. They don't use sound to communicate, however, and the Area 51 staff believes they communicate telepathy. Attempts have been underway since the late 60s to repair the attacker ship, and with the arrival on the mothership, the systems in the attacker reactivated. So, they're coming for their ship. That's all they want. They want their ship back. And the 3 dead soldiers. And they'll destroy every city on Earth to get them.
As I say, that's pretty dramatic. Yeah, but totally. No. They don't, honestly, they don't really tell you a whole lot about the aliens.
No, I think that's a good thing.
It wasn't the necessary focus, because the focus was mostly on the coordination and the struggle of everyone trying to get rid of them. So there wasn't a lot of direct focus on them, and I think that might have been not only a tool as far as adding mystery to it, but also maybe it helped the budget a little bit, because I'm sure those were expensive shots when they had the aliens in it.
Well, here's the thing. They mention that the aliens breathe air and are fragile, and the shot of the alien in the spaceship is 3 seconds?
Yeah.
Before Will Smith knocks him out, and then you don't see much of the aliens and what they look like, and like you said, it could be budgetary, but I also think that's part of Robert Emmerich's design, because he doesn't believe in aliens.
Yeah, I think it's both, honestly, because if you see them in the water when they're in those tanks, it's kind of obscured a little bit. You can see it, but you kind of can't. So that meant that it's okay, this doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to just make it look like it's there.
Yeah.
You don't have to put 18 hours on this. Just do it in 5 and just make it look like it was torn apart in a crash.
Yeah.
This
movie is about humans' reaction to the aliens, not necessarily the aliens themselves.
Right. They are just
subplot.
Merely a plot device or a subplot. Yeah, absolutely.
So, Captain Hiller requests a helicopter to go look for his family in the ruins of L.A. No, he doesn't. He
commandeers.
He asks the general if he can go back to L.A. L.A. is being destroyed, so he steals a helicopter.
Yeah. He uses a Jedi mind trick on the guy that he steals it from.
You want to go shoot me?
It's you really gonna shoot me? He's lowers his gun. Damn. Just tell him I hit you.
Yeah.
just another example of the speckled humor throughout it. It's really good.
So Jasmine's been able to get to the desert and has found many survivors along the way, including the First Lady, who survived a helicopter crash landing. The pair bond over their love of dance, ballet versus exotic,
yes.
And having partners who were Air Force men. I'm a dancer. Ballet.
Exotic. She's I'm sorry. And she's like, oh, don't be. I'm not.
Mm-hmm. She
Yeah.
proud of what she does.
I mean, I heard they make pretty good money, so
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
man, maybe it works for her. I don't know.
I mean, I can't do that. I'm too fat. But
No thanks. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, not. That would make me uncomfortable.
now, in an amazing stroke of coincidental effect, Hiller manages to land near where the survivors are. And he
Right.
brings the survivors back to Area 51. However, Miss Whitmore's injuries are too severe to save, and she passes due to uncontrollable internal bleeding. So that bit was so sad.
Yeah, it was. I kind of wonder why they chose to add it where they added it, but I mean, there's so much moving forward and going on. It's I hate to say you quickly forget it, but you kind of quickly forget
Yeah,
it.
you kind of do.
I mean,
I think part of that was to show the fragility. Her death was a plot designed to show even more fragility and pressure on the president.
sure, yeah,
Because
that makes sense.
because he's a politician, he's a leader, he's got to lead the world, or at least America, during this invasion that he keeps making the wrong moves at every turn, and
Yeah,
now his wife has died, and it adds to his mental state.
yeah, it just tries his spirit and his resolve even further. Yeah, because I mean, in this movie, everyone is looking to America.
Yeah,
Because there's when they later on when they're communicating, they're like, oh, they finally figured it out. When are we
Yeah.
doing this? So they were already. So that was another layer of pressure, not just America, but you had an international. He was an international figurehead for lack of argument. He was kind of like the leader of the world, I would argue,
yeah.
during that time.
Because most of the other places, their leaders were wiped out.
Exactly.
He got lucky because he got lucky because of Levinson.
Yeah, I was would say Levinson gave them a jump start that no one else had.
And if he hadn't have got there, if they hadn't have got that message, he'd have perished day one, attack one.
Especially since his original stance was to stay put.
Yeah,
And later on he's head in hands about not evacuating earlier
yeah,
and not evacuating himself earlier because some of his staffers might have been spared because so I mean there's an incredible amount of pressure being put on him, and that I think that makes it all the more sweet towards the end.
yes. So they have the alien, the Will Smith's character that Hill brought in.
Yeah.
So Dr. Ocken takes him down to surgery and removes an outer biomechanical suit from the alien. Then the creature regains its consciousness and kills most of the examination crew because it has no kills most of the examination crews. And because it has no vocal cords, it makes use of Dr. Oaken's voice to communicate with President Whitmore, who's outside the glass window of the lab during this procedure. His words are, "Release me." Whitmore poses a question to the alien, asking if the people of Earth and their invaders can live in peace. The creature says no peace. When the president asks the creature what it wants them to do, it responds, "Die." Talk about bleak.
Ominous. Yeah, I mean this is a PG-13 movie.
What do you want?
They skirted the line. Like this is a solid PG-13 movie. If there'd have been one more cuss word, it probably would have been rated R.
Yeah, definitely.
They got lucky. There's I think I heard S twice, and I think I heard F once.
Yeah.
I think I was keeping track because I noticed it was PG-13, and they skirted the line on it big time. Yeah, totally bleak. Totally like I remember seeing that as a kid and being really creeped out.
Yeah.
Like, big time.
Because at that point you don't see how they're going to do anything.
It's still it's ominous, but it's mysterious too.
Yeah.
Because the means like you just don't know what all is going to happen. Like, and they're obviously technologically advanced, so that opens up a whole nother can of worms. So they have powers and technology that we can't even comprehend, let alone defend.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, and now we're this far into the movie. It's bleak. We finally find out what the aliens want, which I think is good. We don't find out at the beginning and work against it. We find out halfway through when things are at their most dire. And, the military personnel. Sorry, let me phrase that. So the alien uses telepathic powers to invade the president's mind, which incapacitates him. The military personnel shoot through the glass, killing the alien. Dr. Ocken is left in a coma. Now, let me pause for that one right there. In this movie, Dr. Oaken is quite clearly seen as dead. His eyes are open. He is not breathing. He has alien tentacles wrapped around his throat. He is dead. D-E-D, dead. Right?
Looks like it, yeah.
No, he's only in a coma because they had to bring him back for the second movie.
Oh, okay.
So during the instant that the president was immobilized, he was able to read the thoughts of the alien and learned of their plan. They attack planets, kill off any indigenous life, and use up the resources on the planet, then move on. They're like locusts. Nuke the I mean, that line right there. Okay, you know what? We haven't used nuclear weapons. We have to. You know, this is it. We need our strongest weapons to take down these beings before they wipe us off the planet.
I mean, it's an aggressive stance, but they're also extremely aggressive. So you kind of have to fight fire with fire a little bit. So I don't blame him for being the go-to notion.
I mean, at this point, nuclear winter or extermination. That's the option.
Die slowly or die quickly.
Yeah. So they head out to Houston, which is deserted. They find a destroyer, and they nuke him. But the weapon explodes, but proves ineffective, penetrating the craft's force field, and destroys the city instead. To the point where the president calls the order back, and there's nothing they can do about it. So Earth's most strongest weapon that we know of can't even put a dent in these warships.
Because they have that technology that we don't even understand. So once again, like there's got to be a way to like mitigate that. And right now, that's the only way we know is just launch a bomb at them. So we got to think outside of the box a little bit to get these guys.
So what happens? While Levison is found by his father drunk and incoherently making a mess in the hangar, yelling about how a nuclear attack over Houston will add to the destruction of Earth. Julius tries to comfort his son, telling him that he's been lax in his faith ever since David's mother died. What they don't tell you in the movie is that Julius Levinson was actually a rabbi.
Mm.
That's how he was raised, and he said he has not talked to God since his mother died. So he completely lost his faith.
Sad. More sad.
Yeah, so he tells David to get off the floor so he won't catch cold. David has an epiphany and wakes up the techs leaking in the hangar. David gathers everyone in the hangar and demonstrates to the crowd how the attacker's shield works. He then activates a program on his laptop that deactivates the ship's shield, making it effortless for Major Mitchell to shoot a soda can that he placed on it. David suggests a plan that involves using the newly operable alien attacker to gain access to the interior of the alien mothership, upload a computer virus that will disable the protective shields, and then once the computer virus takes effect, the attackers and destroyers will be left vulnerable, and a singular nuclear weapon could be used to destroy the mothership. Okay. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just trying to think of that in like modern terms. Okay, so them driving the ship back that's been there since the 60s. Okay, think of it this way: like you're pulling up to a Ford dealership in a 1960 Mustang. Like, all right, just returned him a new car. Nothing to see here. Just a brand new car coming on in. It's like, what?
Well, my thing is...
It's the same thing, so at least they look the same.
Well, here's the thing, though. My thing is, how are they going to upload the virus? Because I didn't read... Because at that time, right...
FTP? I don't know.
Well, here's the thing, right? We lived with a bunch of people. We lived with family, and they watched a lot of the cartoon The VeggieTales, right? Yeah. And they explained how they made the first... They explained on behind the scenes, because DVDs had behind the scenes footage of everything back then.
I missed that.
How they built the episode. And how they programmed it they animated on a Mac, but the rendering had to be done on PC. And how in 1994 it was virtually impossible. They managed to do it, but it was virtually impossible to transfer from a Mac to PC back in those days.
Yeah.
So what operating system was he using to gain access to the alien ship where he can drop a virus to drop the shields?
Like how would he know that the code would mesh? Yeah, there's a lot of questions there because you'd have to tap into their language and like a particular computer software, etc. Yeah. So
the DVD, the special edition of the film, some deleted scenes are restored, And what it is that him getting access to the computer program that got the countdown that was in the signal gave him a head start, and he kind of was able to wing it and figure out the operating system and the computer requirements of the computer, of the alien computer. So yeah, there's a couple of interesting things, you know.
They say he's brilliant, so I kind of just went with that.
Yeah, that's the line I went with too. He's a genius, you know. He knows what he's doing. Once the computer virus takes place, he starts blah, 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 blah. Hill volunteers to pilot the attacker with Levinson accompanying him to upload the virus to the mothership. Defense Secretary Naminsky yells again at the president that involves emotion at the wife's death, and he's making a mistake. At this point, I wanted somebody to shoot that guy.
Yeah, he should have been fired the second that he told them about Area 51.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have fired him immediately there, so yeah.
I would have shot him and said the aliens killed him. So you don't pay out on the life insurance, you know?
Yeah, he was kind of a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So he's been fired due to his actions since the invasion started. It's basically he wanted to be president at some point, and he realized he's never going to get the chance.
Yeah, he's kind of overreaching a little bit.
Yeah. So before the mission, Captain Hiller and Jasmine take a few minutes to get married. David Levinson and Connie Spano show up as witnesses. David and Connie reconnect during the service and hold hands. With satellite communications knocked out, I'll come back to this point here in a minute. With satellite communications knocked out, the Americans must use Morse code to coordinate an attack of the remaining forces around the world, timed to occur when the attacker's shields are set to fail. Lacking enough military pilots to fly all available aircraft, the commanders call for volunteer pilots. Those step up include President Whitmore and Russell Case, who both have previous combat experience. Now, let me go back a minute. The way it was explained in the movie, see, this plot line is wrong when it talks about it. The way it was explained in the movie is they used Morse code because it couldn't be decoded by the aliens.
Right.
It was a nice, simple, way of getting everything off by using an out-of-date language that...
We do it old school, yeah.
That the aliens wouldn't have a chance to decipher. That it wasn't digital. Because that was the aliens' mistake, is everything's digitalized. They have digital weapons, digital shields, Now, President Whitmore signing up to be an aircraft fighter. You know what that's in reference to? Medieval kings.
Oh, yeah. That's how it used to be.
The medieval kings would be on the front line and lead their troops into battle. Now, I understand that in the narrative of the movie, he's an ex-fighter pilot, and this is his, this is what he knows. If I can do anything, I can go to the sky and clean up. But it also gives the best presidential movie speech in history. Oh,
it's perfect. It's like he basically says how like 4th of July is like an Earth holiday now, dudes.
Yeah.
Like, let's go out there and kick some ass. And yeah, it was it was very Kennedy-esque.
Yep.
I would argue he reminded me of Kennedy. He has the way it's set up. It's a very similar background, age. So someone late 30s, early 40s. And that's extremely youthful for a president.
Yeah. The youngest president, 42, Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah.
So they're saying that Whitmore was around 45 when he became president, and about 47 now.
Still very young. Compared to our current president is twice as old as him. So
yeah, and the other guy is the same age, minus 2 years. So you got between old and old.
Yep, pick one. Yep.
Yeah. What did Lewis Black say when this election you stuck with two bowls of shit? The only difference is the smell.
Just pick the one that's the least worst to you. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and that extra too, who did the salute.
Yeah,
I'm surprised he didn't rip his rotator cuff doing that salute because it was so
crisp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he just went for it.
Well, there were two things that they kept in the movie from that scene. Like when he first speaks into the control, he says good morning, stops for a second, turns the thing around and says good morning, and then comes up the thing. That was a mistake. He picked the wrong side up, but he acted through it, and it
they just kept it.
It added to the
authenticity
to the whole,
of it.
Yeah, and the cheering in the long shot, because they did the long shot first of everybody listening to speech for the first time, that got a round of applause from all the extras. So that cheering, hooping, and hollering was not scripted, I mean, they weren't expecting it to be, very, very quiet and like, you hear the president, let's go. But the cheering and everything like that is because it was such a good speech. And you were right, it was based on speeches done by Kennedy.
Yeah, he had a very not so much the way
not
he
so
talked,
mind,
but the way that he used dynamics and stuff like that, and the way he phrased a lot of things, it reminded me a lot of it.
We will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight.
Yes,
love that speech.
It's a good one. It's very. I mean,
good. Even had us in the UK like celebrating that, like woo. That was a good one, man. Oh, wait. So, Hitler and Leveson get in the ship and finally implant the virus. Now, what's funny about that is the fact that they get in the ship and he's got like a little sticky note which says the directions in which to fly the plane. So he goes forward and they crash backwards. He's like, oops.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Flip it around.
What do you mean, oops? Can we do that again without the oops, please? And... So when they get to the mothership, he's like, oh, good, they're taking us in. I was exactly counting on this. When were you going to tell me? Oops. We got to work on our communication, man. I just love that bit. Well, that bit was improvised. All the lines that Jeff Goldblum and Will Smith did, they were improvised. Huh. So, a bit of Bill Murray going on there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, as President Whitmore leads the American fighter jets against the alien destroyer approaching Area 51, the aliens lack shields, but the squadron's supply of missile quickly exhausted against the size of the craft and the complement of assault ships. As the underside of the alien craft opens to direct its energy to press fire on the base, the President fires a missile at the cannon, but it connects and explodes with a large protective hatch. Just as the squadron is informed that all their missiles have been fired, Russell Case radios in. Now, I didn't mention the fact that, okay. So, they're asking for volunteer pilots, and they said, "Look, we're not gonna kid you. This is gonna be a very, very difficult thing to do. What's your flying experience?" Well, I flew over Nam, and then I got into crop dusting, and I've been doing that ever since. On a personal note, I want revenge on these aliens who kidnapped me and did experiments on me 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've had 15-mile spaceships, the mothership. You've been in the briefings with the president. You killed an actual alien with a gun.
And we're still ridiculing the guy for talking about his experience. They're still like, ha ha, you're crazy talking. Oh.
The alien ship is coming.
Literal evidence. Look.
You can see it.
That's what, if I were him, I would have been pointing to the sky going, I'm not crazy. Look at him.
Yeah.
There's the aliens right there. There's the ones. There they are.
So Russell Case comes by, and Stats is about to shoot his laser. Not his laser, his missile.
Right.
And it jams. And you think at that moment, all hope is lost.
You get a short window.
And Russell Case, crazy Russell Case, decides that he's going to sacrifice himself for the good of humanity. And flies his plane into the alien mothership's weapon. Not mothership, the alien ship's weapon, which causes a chain reaction that blows the ship up.
Boom.
He did it. The son of a bitch did it, and they're all cheering and happy. And his son's just standing there like. Now it turns out it's not his son; that's his stepson. But that's another bit that was cut out the movie and was inserted into the extra long version of the movie that was recut. So yeah, it's not his family; it's his wife. It's his dead wife's family.
Okay.
So
all right, it's just like family.
Yeah, but they don't respect him because he's a drunk and all that stuff.
Sure.
So
that's understandable.
After they figure out human resistance forces around the world use the same weak point to destroy the remainder of the alien ships, and they all go down. While on the mothership, Hitler is unable to disconnect from a docking clamp. Knowing that they need to still fire the nuke, the two smoke their victory cigars and thank each other for their efforts. They launch the nuke that penetrates a nearby control center where the ship is suddenly free, and he fiercely pilots it to the portal which they entered, narrowly escaping when the doors close.
Oh, that's the best part of the movie, I thought. So
Must go faster. Must go faster.
Yeah.
Quit side seat driving.
He's like, what do you think I'm doing? He's like telling him where to go. He's like, bridge, tunnel, door, go,
I
go,
see
go.
what I'm doing.
Uh,
And perhaps my favorite line in the whole movie is as they finally fly out of the ship, Elvis has left the building.
yeah.
Oh, thank you very much.
That's an old person reference right there.
Actually, do you know the guy who coined that worked with Sarah for a little while?
Really?
Yes, he worked at what was Clear Channel Radio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
When Sarah worked there, he was like in his 80s. So I mean, he'd
Okay.
been around for a while.
Wow.
But Hiller and Levinson are caught. Anyway, the bomb explodes, instantly destroying the mothership. Hiller and Levinson are caught up in the shockwave of the debris of the alien ship's explosion, but return to Earth unharmed, crash landing near the alien fighter close to Area 51. When they emerge from the smoke and dust, they join their waiting friends. They're both smoking cigars, and the film ends as everybody watches debris from the mothership enter the atmosphere, looking like shooting stars and fireworks. And that's your movie.
Wow.
I mean, that last 10 minutes, like, was all adrenaline.
Yeah, it went from sci-fi into full tilt action at that point.
And
yeah, big time.
Not just that, I think the how many boxing fights have you seen where one guy's getting hammered and then all of a sudden he gets up and just starts wailing until he runs out of energy?
Gets a second wind.
Yeah. Or eighth wind. I mean, everything was all bleak. Sure. And as soon as they took that mothership down, they what's the word I'm looking for? Galvanized.
They mobilized. Yeah, absolutely.
So, I always thought of something, right? And I looked it up, and I've got the answer right here. What happened to the little ships? Because when they destroyed the mothership, when they destroyed their mothership, the city ships,
right? I think I know.
Go ahead.
No, go. No, wait, sorry.
They didn't go. They didn't go away. They must have still been trying to fight.
I could have sworn they said though that. Okay, remember when they were at Area 51 and they showed him the ship, and the doc told them that yes, we've had this here since the 60s, and they're like, well, how come you haven't got it to work? And he said, well, because it hasn't until those ships showed up. So what I'm thinking is they take the ship down, they all go bloop and fall out of the sky because they're no longer linked.
Without their shields, they fall far enough that they would be destroyed.
Because it wouldn't even work. So to me, if under that same logic, they'd turn into paperweights and just fall out of the sky.
Well, I wanted a question.
Maybe.
That was part one of the question that I had that I always had.
Okay.
Part two was surely some of the aliens escaped, and apparently, according to ye old IMDb, and a throwaway line in the second movie, it took Earth 10 years to get rid of all the aliens that had ended up on Earth.
I mean, that makes sense. As big as those ships were, there had to be numerously populated. I mean, you could have had millions and millions of people on those ships.
Yeah. So, let's look at some stuff from behind the scenes, and we wrap up here in a minute. The U.S. military pledged support to the movie to film on its bases and whatnot, but pulled their support when they found out references to Area 51.
Yeah, they still don't want to admit that that's a thing.
Yeah, even though a couple of years ago people raided Area 51.
Right.
That was so dumb.
They can't stop us all.
Yeah, they can. That's why they have machine guns.
Yeah, and like they probably have like drone support too now. I'd argue, and infrared cameras. I'm sure they've got every possible state of the art technology you could think of.
Oh, there was a guy, and I don't want to get into political debate. I know we've gone on a couple of political rants so far because we're discussing presidents and age and stuff like that.
Sure.
But there was a comedian who said that he didn't buy arguments of gun control versus unlimited guns from either side of the argument, right?
Right.
And he said that every year, however, we should test the theory of the NRA versus the military and see who wins. And so the first guy that he was talking about, like, he's like, I got an AR-15, I'm covered in Kevlar. How confident are you winning, sir? 1 million. And then he goes to talk to the army guy, and he goes, look, I don't think this is fair because we've got, like, a drone. Uh,
Right.
you know, I mean, do we start? I'll just push this button here. Okay, and that's
Right.
the military winning for another year in the military versus NRA. Join us next year. I'll have to send you that because it's absolutely hilarious. It really is. The film holds the record for the most miniatures used in cinema. We mentioned that, and we also mentioned that Goldblum scenes with Judd Hirsch and Will Smith were improvised.
Yeah, some good stuff there.
Yeah. We mentioned the film of the recording news broadcasts.
Yeah, very authentic. Give it made it feel more at home.
Yeah. Now, I didn't know this, but the bits of Area 51, the glass rooms and stuff like that, that was actually filmed at LAX, right? They were delayed filming because of the Unabomber.
Huh. Yeah,
Now,
that was the thing back then.
yeah, I thought the Unabomber was the 70s, but no, it was the 90s.
No, it was late 80s or yeah, early mid 90s, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, for the people who don't know, the Unabomber was a terrorist who sent bombs through the mail to his targets.
Yeah.
And he's locked up in prison right now with no mail privileges.
Oh, yeah, I hope not. In or out. Yeah.
Brent Spiner's character was based on Jeffrey Oken, who worked on Stargate, even down to the
Nice.
character name. General Gray's bench of the military is never mentioned.
I noticed that.
You just
I
call him
assumed it
General.
was I assumed it was Air Force just because there was so much like air combat going on.
It's Marine
But
General.
okay, well that makes sense. They kind of deal with both, so that makes sense.
Goldblum got the part. He tweaked his character to incorporate elements from The Fly and Jurassic Park.
Yeah, because he's just you get Jeff Goldblum for Jeff Goldblum, so you let him do what he does best, and he killed it, man. He did a really good job on his part.
So the soundtrack of the movie, it wasn't really a popular soundtrack, if that makes sense. It wasn't, we've talked about soundtracks where they've got this song, that song, the other song.
No, this was a score.
Yeah, this was a score, and it won.
Yeah.
It won the Grammy for the best film score.
It's really good.
Yeah. So go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's just it was perfect for everything they did. It was you barely noticed it because it was just doing such a good job of supporting everything that was happening on screen.
So I rate this movie seriously, and I'm not joking when I say this. I rate this movie as 10 out of 10.
I kind of have to agree with that, like a 9.5 or a 10. I mean, when I try to think about like a negative to take some off, I just can't really think of anything. I mean, it's kind of long,
Yeah.
but I mean, it needs it. I know that's a condensed version too. So yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that. A 9.5 or a 10. Yeah, definitely.
Well, it's only long for its era though, because nowadays your average movie is about 2.5 hours long, and
Yeah.
this, I mean, for a '90s movie being 2 hours long is like an age.
Yeah, that was a
So
long one because like Happy Gilmore and stuff like that was like hour and 30 at most.
yeah, but this is fantastic. I mean, as I mentioned before, because the main cast were not the superstars, that changed the movie in the sense that you bought into the character, not the actor.
Yeah,
Randy Quaid's character showing that he's the hero of everything shows that anybody can be the hero if you put your mind to it.
like kind
You
of
know,
an average Joe or just someone
yeah,
that's been kind of casted off.
yeah.
That's quote unquote worthless or whatever to some. Yeah,
I mean, aside from trying to connect, Windows 95 to Alien 95, which was the only bit of the movie that was a suspect. This
yeah,
was
that
designed.
was.
Go
No, I
ahead.
was saying that was weird.
Yeah,
And now that you bring it up, I just thought the guy was a genius. But yeah, it's a really good point because we had limited everything back then.
yeah. I mean, Windows 95 was not the best.
Nah.
I mean, Windows 3.1 was better. I'm sorry, what
Yeah, you
anyone
could play
says.
Minesweeper on it, so
That's right.
boom.
The movie was meant to be realistic, and I feel that it was realistic.
Absolutely.
In context,
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, what are your thoughts, man?
I mean, it's just a really good movie. I think in the canon of action sci-fi movies, it's often overlooked.
Yeah.
Like people aren't going to mention this one first. They're going to mention Die Hard or like I was saying earlier, they're going to mention other contemporaries first. But it's one of those ones, if you sit down, it's just infectious. You can't help but want to watch it, and it just pulls you in. It's just the pacing and just the cinematography, the action. You just can't go wrong with it. It's you can watch it in front of your grandma and laugh along with her or your aunt. It's a good film.
Well, the movie is considered one of the last of the big summer blockbuster movies,
Yeah,
and it really was. I mean,
sure.
There's nothing about it. It did have a sequel, but the sequel was poorly received. To
Yeah, I
which,
never even heard of it. Yeah.
oh, you haven't heard of it?
Was it Resurgence?
Yes.
I saw the ad for it when I was watching the other one on YouTube. I didn't know if they were directly connected. But anyway, but yeah, I'll have to check it out.
Oh, the plot of that movie is somewhat similar
Okay.
to this movie, but Earth has adapted the technology, the weapons technology and the defense technology, and before they were destroyed, they sent a distress signal back to their home world.
Oh, so they have reinforcements showing up now.
So yeah, it's kind of like the first time Star Trek dealt with the Borg.
Gotcha. Oh man, the Borg. Yeah. Oof.
And I think
They're
that,
very similar.
yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's very, very similar. I mean, they're like
Except
locusts.
I mean, like the stark difference being the Borg want to absorb you.
Yes.
They want to put you in the collective, and they're just trying to exterminate. They're just trying to clear a path and get all the resources and hit hit the next planet.
Well, Emmerich said that once Will Smith pulled out of the project, he should have stopped working on it.
Right.
But they had to rewrite the script and the story because Will Smith's character wasn't going to be in it. Will Smith wanted to do it, but he did Suicide Squad instead.
Okay.
So I don't know if they could have held off for another year. But I think they were under pressure from Fox to get it out on the 20th anniversary.
Okay.
So but it did give more in depth to the aliens and what their society does. And some of the things they were doing on Earth while we were trying to fight them. Some of the ships are already taking care of part of the business why they were here in the first place.
Sure, and clearly they infiltrated Earth in other ways. If we were having to remove them for a decade after.
So the portrayal of David Levinson, combined with the success of this film, led to the movie The Day After Tomorrow. Did you see that movie?
Yeah, it's a good movie.
It is a good movie. I liked it. Another end of the world movie. I think David Emmerich likes doing end of the world movies.
Yeah, it's another really good one. I should have known that his signature was on that one. It's very, very akin.
Yeah. So that is Independence Day, a 10 out of 10 movie with a couple of plot holes, but at the same time, a realistic portrayal of what would happen if a hostile alien species came to Earth.
In 1996, yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
So, that is going to be it for right now. Greg, man, thank you for coming on board. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. It's a blast. I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah. So, Greg will be back sometime next season. I'll be back here in a couple of minutes to explain what's happening about next season, if you guys are not up to speed. And we will see you here in a few minutes. Thanks.
Peace.
In honor of President Whitmore's rousing speech, let's take a look at some other inspirational quotes from U.S. presidents.
A date which will live in infamy.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
So, we're back. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen, everybody. I want to take a sincere thank you to Gregg Gregory for taking the time out of his very, very busy day. Greg is super busy with work, super busy with the holodeck, super busy with his duties that he takes care of at one of his local churches. And yeah, he is a very, very busy, busy man. And I appreciate the time he took out of his schedule to sit down and talk about Independence Day. It's a great movie. If you haven't already figured out that yet, you want to go watch it again and watch it. Is currently, as of recording, on Hulu. So, yeah, you want to go ahead and get that. Go watch Hulu for Independence Day. So, let's talk about the 90s podcast real quick. I'm going to reiterate some things I said on Extra episode 20, but I'm going to just put them out here. And just a reminder for those people who haven't listened to it, extra 20. The 90s podcast will return on the 22nd of September this year. Now, I originally was going to do it on the 15th, but I've given myself an extra week to do some research because there are a lot of episodes that I need to finish researching. I don't know how long that's going to last, though, but it's definitely coming back on the 22nd of September, okay? Also, the 90s Gamer will be back this November. Now, I'm unsure of what I want to do with the 90s Gamer. I don't know whether or not I don't want to do another series of a game, or if I want to take little games and do like 45-minute videos of me playing those games and seeing how far we can go and doing some editing and stuff like that. Haven't decided yet. I will have a decision in the next couple of weeks once I look through what games I've got, what games I can play, and what games are suitable for the 90s Gamer in the format that I do them. Even if it's just 4 episodes, I'll do that. That would be interesting. I might do some more Lemons. I'm not sure yet. I have to figure this stuff out. So give me a couple of weeks and I'll have something for you when it comes to the 90s Gamer. We are not doing any more Dead Streamer this year. Dead Streamer kind of got sidetracked and slided because of hardware failure. As I've mentioned many times, I'm using an older rig, and sometimes it can't handle the pressure of the games that are coming in, and so we tried Oddworld and it was skipping and it just wasn't doing the way it was supposed to be doing. So unfortunately we had to cancel that series, and we canceled the upcoming Fallout series because, to be honest, I haven't played it too much, and I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to be too bumbly and stumbly. I want to have some kind of level of expertise going on there. But the Fallout series is cancelled, and we might do that next year. We might not. I haven't decided yet, but that's what's going on. That'll come back sometime in the spring of 2025 to coincide with the 90s podcast, okay? And that is it for this season. Season 10 is finally in the bag. We are completely done. No more episodes on Season 10. Season 11 will start in the 22nd of September. Of course, all this is subject to change. I am a one-man studio with a lot of plates spinning in my personal life, and maybe more responsibilities at work in my 9 to 5. So it's, all this is subject to change. But if it does change, check out our social media pages, okay? Check out Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for the latest news and what's going on. Check out our website where you find our archive of everything that we've ever done. And don't forget to check out where you can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podchaser, Pandora, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Podbean, or Amazon Music. That's where you'll find us if you're not listening to us on a podcast network of your choice. Yeah, and that's it, everybody. I hope everybody has a good Independence Day. Be careful around those fireworks. I want everybody who listens to this to have, all their digits by the end of the day. For those of you who are not in the United States, I hope you had a very, very, very normal Thursday. And that is it. So, take it easy, everybody. Bye.